And I stopped by yesterday. I was very pleased with what I saw in your classroom. There were two things that you were doing that I was just very happy with. First and foremost, you had your higher order thinking questions planned out, and then you did a strategic turn and talk after asking the question, and you cold called students. Talk to me about how that felt and how that went in class for you yesterday.
Okay. When I cold called the students, that was my way of making sure that they were engaged in the text and that they understood what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I started asking them questions, that let me know whether or not they understood what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so the class that you came in, they did very, very well. But some of my other classes, if I felt like they didn't understand what was going on, that was my moment to say, okay, go back to the text, find whatever, like if I asked the inference question, I asked them to go back to the text and find evidence to support their answer.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my way of just assessing whether they understood what the text was about.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the classes
Okay. You did a great job of making the quick adjustment, okay? That's what I want to talk to you about, the annotation, because I want to figure out how we can kind of embed that into what you do every day. So talk to me about when your students are reading, what is their process for annotating?
Okay. I tell them when they read, they need to be active readers. So a lot of times when they're reading a text, if they have any questions in their mind based on what they've read, like predictions or what's going on in the text, they can write that down. Or certain paragraphs, the main idea, what is the main idea in the passage. So when I model how to annotate, I'm getting them to write the main idea of every paragraph or any questions that they have, any predictions, what thoughts they have in their head. And so I show them that if you have 8 sentences in a paragraph, you don't have to write down every single detail. Just write down the gist of it, what it is mainly about, what is the author trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
And so yesterday I wrote on a board just one particular page, and we did it together. And I showed them how to annotate that page as far as the thoughts, the process they should undergo.
Mm-hmm.
And so they wrote that down, and after that, they understood exactly what it was they were supposed to do.
Very nice. So let me ask you this. When you look back, because we have a student sample here, when you look back at your student samples, do you see the same level of annotation amongst all students? Or do you see that some do it really, really well and then others don't?
My higher level students, they have more well thought out annotations. Now my lower level students, my SPED students, those are the groups that I'm going to need to work with. And that's what I want to talk to you about putting them in groups,
Mm-hmm.
so that I can give them that support.
Mm-hmm.
And be able to, ask them, okay, what's going on in the text, and just give them the support to show them how to effectively write the annotations.
Very nice. I have a video. I'm going to show it to you.
Okay.
And then I want you to tell me what you think about the video and then also what your ideas are for doing that, okay?
Okay.
All right. What do you notice about this teacher's annotation strategy that he uses with kids?
I like that he got the students to highlight what's important in the text for the thinking notes,
Mm-hmm.
and figure out the main idea and explain, why it's important. And then I also like that he got the kids to annotate and put why, what they were confused with and what they didn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it lets me know as a teacher what issues the kids are having
Very
and
nice.
what I need to go over with them.
What did he have the kids do prior to coming to class? What was their homework?
Read the story.
They had to read the story before they came in, right?
Yes.
And then could they just mark anything as far as when they were annotating? He had a what?
He had a certain system in place, what they had to do.
He had a key, yeah,
Yes.
a certain system. So different things meant different things, right? And so looking at this main idea, his key was they would have to put a star by what they
Yeah.
thought the main idea was. Exclamation meant, I love this part, great writing idea. Question mark is what they're confused about. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so it kind of makes it so that even if you're high, if you're low, it doesn't matter. We have the same
Okay.
way that we annotate, right?
Yes.
So what are your thoughts and ideas around annotating?
I think that's a really excellent idea. Like, I will incorporate that in my classroom.
Okay.
And just even yesterday, when you told me that I need to get the kids to annotate, and you asked me to do it, I noticed that once I started doing the all-in-one learning and scanning their tests, their scores, that particular class, they did better than other classes.
Whoa, really?
So yeah, it made a big difference. And so I like this strategy. Can you send it to me?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And we're gonna work through it right now too.
Okay.
So let's do this real quick. So your action step, because we're working with action steps. Your action step for this particular week, and then probably for next week too, is going to be to write the exemplar. So go ahead and write that down for me. You got a pen? Oh, there we go.
I got a red pen.
You're awesome, thank you. Write the exemplar.
Okay,
So the first thing that you're going to do is create your key for annotating.
Okay.
Then you're gonna read the text yourself and script out, like annotate it. What would an exemplary annotation look like according to your key? And what are some of the things that we're trying to get students to write down when we're asking them these higher order thinking questions? What are ideal student responses, right? So you're gonna write the exemplar. You're gonna script out what you want students to say. And you already know this, but are you asking the students just any questions?
No, the questions that I'm asking them are based on what tics they have issues with. And then also just, my main goal, what I was focusing on was inferencing. I was asking them a lot of questions about inferencing and context clues and vocabulary.
Very nice. So then you want to use those star stems to make sure your questions are aligned to the rigor of the assessment.
Okay.
And I see that you're doing it up there already. So that's awesome. So let's look at From Packing for Mars. This is what you're reading next week, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. And so what we're gonna do is, the first thing, we're gonna make sure that students know that they need to read this before they come to class. So we can assign this for homework tomorrow.
Okay.
For students so that they know they need to read it over the weekend.
Okay.
And then let's think about a key. So what three, like if you had to pick three things that you want students to be annotating for, and you want a little symbol for them, like here he has the star, the exclamation, and the question marks, what would you do if you were trying to come up with a key?
Definitely the main idea is important.
Okay.
Because that's what we've been talking about. So I like the idea of a star for a main idea.
Okay.
Okay.
And then, what'd you have next?
Also, like any questions that they have, anything that confuse them,
Uh-huh.
maybe we can put a question mark for that.
Mm-hmm.
And the third thing, vocabulary, what we've really been focusing on.
Okay.
So anytime there's a vocabulary word that they don't understand, getting them to underline it or highlight it.
Very nice.
And then they can write on the side of it what they think it means,
I love
the
it.
term.
Okay, so that's your third one. Awesome, so now let's look at this one, Packing from Mars, and we're gonna, I'm gonna get you to grab what you have, 7th grade book, it's page 219. And I'll give you this one, this is a fresh one that you can write on. So if we were reading this one together, and you were gonna write your exemplar, we would start with what? Where's the first place that you would want students to start really annotating and thinking? Like if you were a kid reading this at home.
After they look at the title and make a prediction of what they think the passage is about, I would tell them to look at the background information. Because sometimes when kids when they start reading, they just jump into the passage. But first, I would let them, tell them to look at the background information so they can see what's going on and understand what's going on in the text.
Very nice. So you hit two things, right? First, you said you want them to look at the title and make a what?
Prediction.
Do it as if you are a student now. Look at that title and then right off to the side what you would want a student to think about or predict from that title. Because that's the first thing you want them to annotate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even with just that little part right there, so that's what you'll do for the rest of that story, right?
Yes.
So that you have an exemplar. I noticed yesterday when I was in here, you were like walking around with your book. And so if they're annotating and they have pre-read the text and you're walking around with your exemplar, what are you then able to do with your exemplar when you're looking at their paper, especially your SPED kids?
I'm able to compare what answers they put down to what they should have. And if they're not, if they don't really understand what's going on in the passage, asking them the type of questions, the right questions to lead them to make that inference.
You hit it right on the head. So that's what we're gonna work with, okay? It's called writing the exemplar. And so what I'm gonna do is, when do you think you can have the completed exemplar to me? It's like a 2-page story, right?
Yes.
Okay, you think either tomorrow in the morning maybe, during
Okay.
planning, if you just pop by with a copy of it?
Okay.
And then I noticed that you guys have a library day on Monday. Tell me what you guys are doing in the library.
Library days this day? I thought it was Friday.
This Friday coming up tomorrow?
I thought it was next Friday.
Next Friday?
I'll
Okay, your
look at
lesson
it
plan
and see.
said Monday, but if you don't have a library day Monday, that means you'll be in class working with this on Monday, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's okay if I come see it?
Yes, you can.
Yay,
Definitely.
okay, all right, so then I'll come see it Monday, I'll look for the completed exemplar tomorrow.
Okay.
And I do want you to know that you rock.